Welcome to Winter Skills Adventure Training. If you're watching this video, it means that you're excited about winter camping and learning about it. If you've already been, hopefully we'll add to your knowledge base. And if you've never been, we hope that we will empower and enable you and excite you about winter camping. You know, in the Cascades, the snow begins to fall typically by mid-October and sticks around until around May into June often. So if you're not going to be willing to go up in the mountains and experience the winter wonderland, you're going to be doing an awful lot of lowland, rain-drenched camping. So we hope that through the skills that we are going to share with you, that you will feel excited and willing and able and empowered to go winter camping. My name is Karl Kohagen, and there are virtually dozens and dozens of videos that you could watch on YouTube and on the internet that would tell you about winter camping and clothing systems and layering, and there's certainly an awful lot of opinions about it. I think the reason why we would like to share our perspective is from that of a scout leader and from a parent, and not maybe quite as much of just maybe what you might hear from various commercial sources. So why am I an expert and be able to talk to you about this? Well, in 1969 is when I went first winter camping. My Explorer post, we went up into the high Sierras in Northern California in Bridgeport, which happens to be where the Marine Corps has chosen as their permanent camp to teach winter camping skills. And it was quite cold, as you can imagine. We were trying to climb a mountain called Matterhorn Peak, and that's where the winter bug literally bit me. My most extensive winter camping experience is that of a 20-day experience climbing Denali in Alaska, and the temperatures got as cold as about 35 below, and spent over 20 days using the knowledge that we are going to share with you. So I do have a little bit of knowledge about winter camping. I've also spent 40 years in the outdoor clothing industry, as both working in retail stores and working for manufacturers as a sales rep, and I still am employed in the outdoor industry selling apparel for outdoor use. So I do have a little bit of experience, but I think the most important thing is I've also been a scout leader for 30 years to help equip scouts, and I raised 3 sons in the scouting program, and so even as a parent and father I had to be worried about that. So get this thing started, I would like to do is first share a little bit of information about how a human body actually gains and loses heat, because the whole point of our clothing system is to counter the various effects. So you'll have a handout that's obtainable. You can download this particular handout, and it talks about mechanisms of heat loss, and so we're going to quickly look at a few of those. The first one mentioned here is conduction. Conduction is direct contact. Anytime our hand or our bottom, if we sit on the snow or we reach on the snow or we touch any kind of object, cold fuel bottle, a stove or anything, and we directly touch something, we are losing heat directly to that object through conduction. So we obviously need to have some form of insulation frequently between our hands, such as handwear, our feet, from the cold in the ground, or if we're handling a stove or various types of objects. Another form of heat loss is radiation, and this is just direct heat loss to the atmosphere. Quite frankly, it's a form of infrared heat loss, and in order to effectively block it, you would have to use things like an aluminized barrier and wear apparel that had aluminized metal films to actually effectively block radiant heat loss. So typically we don't walk around wearing aluminized apparel. This would be your problem in outer space. It would be 100% of your problem, and so spacesuits stop radiant heat loss to outer space. On Earth, we generally don't try to address this. There's no really easy, effective way of addressing it. So we just let it occur and we pile on more insulation. Evaporative heat loss is a real significant and important form of heat loss that we can address with our clothing systems and our apparel. I'll give you a quick example about evaporative heat loss. Blow across, you can all do this at home, blow across the back of your hand, Now I'd like you to lick the back of your own hand and blow across it again. And you feel that cold sensation. That's in this case, your saliva, moisture on your skin, and as air moves past it, you're getting evaporative cooling. And that difference between your hand being dry and your hand being wet shows you the effectiveness of evaporative cooling. That's one of our #1 sources of heat loss and a way to cool ourselves when we overheat. Another form of heat loss would be respiration. Every time we breathe, we're losing heat as we breathe. Clearly, we don't generally try to capture that heat. If we were at extreme temperatures like Fairbanks, Alaska or something, and it's 40 below zero and you're trying to run and jog and ride a bicycle at those extreme cold temperatures, there's actually masks you can purchase that are designed specifically to recapture the heat loss. But we don't face those type of extremes in the Cascades in our winter camping experience. So trying to recapture lost heat through respiration is not effective. So really, respiration we don't address, radiant heat loss we don't address, but we can address conductive, convective, and evaporative. Now, convective heat loss is the one you're most familiar with, and that's simply as air moves past your body, it's moving away whatever heat you have trapped around your body. So our clothing systems need to address these 3 areas: conduction, convection, and evaporative cooling. So understanding these principles of heat loss are important for everything we talk about as we talk about various apparel and ways to address these forms of heat loss. Now, another important thing to know is, well, how do we gain heat? And there's really only a couple of ways. Your basic basal metabolism is trying to keep your body at about whatever your normal resting temperature is, 98.6, or in my case, with all this COVID stuff, I've had my temperature measured a lot. And my resting, for example, my resting temperature is commonly 97.4. So whatever your resting temperature is, your body is constantly keeping itself at that particular temperature. Now, in order to increase our heat output, we can only do that through muscular activity. And muscular activity can generate tremendous amounts of heat. So when people are cold and they start to shiver, that's their body's reaction to trying to compensate and generate more heat through the muscular activity of shivering. Now remember that your metabolism and your body's ability to produce heat is a function of being properly fueled. So I just brought a couple of examples. Make sure when you're out there winter camping that you have plenty of fuel to keep your body warm and you're fueling it properly. Another important thing is to stay well hydrated, because if your body's not well hydrated, it's not going to be functionally producing the type of heat that you need to keep it warm and active. On this other side of this particular handout, you'll notice I recommend a little piece of closed cell foam, as symbolized by this, because there's a lot of really good uses for it. You can stick it inside your pack to give it a little bit more structure. While you're standing around in a winter camping situation, it can give you more insulation under your feet. You can use it to sit on, which is a really popular use for it. It could be used to splint a person who had an injured arm. You could set your cooking pots on it to keep food warm. And you can supplement your sleeping pad at night by shoving that. So there's a lot of good functional uses for just a hunk of closed cell foam, and that's why it's on this particular handout.